Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Sunday, September 14th. It's 4:54 p.m. Virginia Tech got absolutely embarrassed in Lane Stadium last night. The final score is 45-26. We played Old Dominion. It's really one of the most embarrassing final scores and four quarters of football that I have watched for any football team. This is difficult to do. We found out this morning. I was actually in Costco. I believe I was in the eyeglass aisle because Juliana's getting a new prescription. I saw the news, found out today. The breaking news is Coach Pry is out. Coach Montgomery is in. And we tried to organize this as best as we possibly could. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about, the coaching search, the coaching transition, just some general thoughts on everything. It's really going to be some therapy, which I feel like we've been doing for a long time. But we have been saying on the last couple of podcasts, we have gone from it seems over, it is over, to it is so over. And now we are in it's just beginning. Before we get started, I do want to say, in the famous words of David Teal, this is unpleasant. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people that are in that building. Coach Pry, by all accounts, is a great guy. My interactions with him, Pat's interactions with him have all been positive. I hate that so many people will be affected by something like this happening. It's never personal. This is a multi-million-dollar deal, and it has been a failure. And that's where we are. I am wearing my quarter zip with no undershirt in honor of Coach Pry today. But that is my only joke. I do really feel for everybody affected, but this was absolutely 100% a necessary action. And I will say that I am rather surprised that it was taken, but extremely relieved. Pat, would that be the word that you use to just, how are you feeling right now?
I went to a nice mass service today at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown. Mm-hmm. By the way, we are the Sons of Saturday if you're stopping by for the first time. Billy Ray's down there in Charlotte. I'm up here in the West Village of Manhattan as we record this. And I called Billy and I said, hey, describe how you feel in one word. And he said relieved. And I said, that is exactly how I feel. We get to close this chapter and we get to open up a completely new book. There was a tweet that I saw from Clark Ruland early this morning about just the general feeling. He said, I wish I was more upset, but there are more important things in life. We just want Tech football to be a good distraction from those things. And unfortunately, as a lifelong Virginia Tech Hokie fan, seeing a school like Old Dominion work us at home to a point where it's 31-0 is never something I hope to ever see again. And I hope that no fan base of any college team that actually is a serious program should ever have to be as low as 31 down to Old Dominion at home. I am certainly in the camp of I wish this worked. We all wish this worked. We all had that good feeling at some points of this tenure. And I will say, in addition to being extremely relieved, I'm extremely happy that action was taken within 24 hours of that football game. I'm extremely happy that a decision has been made and that Coach Pry will no longer be leading this football program. And here's my joke, but I don't think it was going to be a joke. I was like, I don't think we should record another podcast until our head football coach is fired. And thankfully, we don't have to make that decision because the decision was made. I think Virginia Tech and Virginia Tech's fan base and Virginia Tech's leadership learned a lot from this 4-year tenure. I'll call it 3 and 1/4 year tenure. As a fan base, and what it means to actually be a serious football program. And I think what we have learned about this tenure should equip us into making a smarter decision next time. So I don't ever want us to have to be in this position again.
Yeah.
But I am so glad that we are able to turn the page and we are able to just put that behind us, because at the end of the day, and really like there was, after looking at the last 4 years, there really was no business of this leadership ever calling plays as the head whistle at Virginia Tech. It just shouldn't have happened. Where do you watch the football game?
I watched this football game on Casey and Hannah Hamrick's couch in Charlotte. Started the day off celebrating Kenny Barnes' wife Alex's birthday, which was great. Watched some great football. That's another thing. There was so much good football on, but there's too much to talk about with Virginia Tech. We watched the Georgia Tech game. Shout out to Brent Pry and his football team for knocking off Clemson. And it was kind of a very similar vibe, but not the same. Like Ohio State was kind of playing like crap against Ohio, and Virginia Tech was playing whatever is 10 times worse than kind of crappy against Old Dominion. And like both of us were just kind of pissed, and that's where I watched. And I have to pour one out, man. When they showed the stadium shot of Lane Stadium and it was packed, 57,627 is the final number for that game. 57,627 Hokies showed up for a team, a staff, a program that frankly doesn't deserve it. And the visual from home, for those of you that were at the game, or for those of you that did something better with your Saturday, was unbelievable. Every couple minutes, they would pan to a fan, and we put some of them on our Instagram and our Twitter, who was just despondent. It literally looked like, if you remember when Florida State lost to Clemson by like 60 points, it looked like, I don't want to be dramatic, but like some of the scenes, man, there were times during the game where I was like, I wish I was there, because this feels like a moment that is going to be like a where were you type moment, or like you reference like time based upon when it happened correlated to this event. It was so much worse than I could have imagined. I knew that losing the game was certainly on the table, and I just did not foresee it going that way. Another thing that happened during the game, Pat, was they had a drone show with actual drones, and it apparently was in a location where people couldn't see it, to add insult to injury at halftime. It was like behind the south end zone, so only like 30% of the stadium could see it. It just looked like a complete and utter disaster. And you were getting some of the videos coming out because there was cell service, because people were rapidly leaving the stadium. And I have never heard boos like that. Like, I was in the stadium for the Syracuse game, which is, I think, the height of the frustration with Fuente. You can point back to Duke too, but like that was when you knew it was over, and it would be over in short order. They were booed like I haven't heard a team booed in a long time coming off of that field at halftime. And I talked to a couple of people who were at the game, and they said there were loud, multiple chants of fire Pry, put in pop. Like, it seemed like it seemed like an exorcism. That's what I called it in the video that I put out at halftime. It felt like a Virginia Tech exorcism. Did that answer your question of where did I watch? That is where I watched the game. Neither of us were there. Neither of us made the trip. I can't remember the last time that happened for a night game. I don't know if that's happened. Pat, do I say ever? Have we both missed a night game ever?
You missed. We both missed UVA last year.
That's right.
It is fun. That was like the UVA moment. It was the same moment when they opened up the UVA game last year, and that place was absolutely filled. Same thing, same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Open up, ODU game completely filled, and you're like,
unbelievable.
Damn. You're like, damn. It's good.
All right, we're not going to spend a ton of time. And where were you watching? What bar were you
at? We were watching on my dad's phone. Went out to Brooklyn. My sister just moved to Brooklyn. We were watching my dad's phone. It was 7-0. We were like, wait, really? The unthinkable is happening. Like, they were just pouring on. Ended up catching it with Josh Posner in we went to this place called Rounders around Greenpoint. Really cool bar. A lot of college football on. Brooklyn is kind of like Richmond if you picked up Richmond and moved it to Brooklyn, like Scott's Edition vibes. Just wasn't expecting it. Was a huge fan of Brooklyn. Let's go. Hadn't spent too much time over there. Wow. I did not expect us to record a podcast today with an interim head coach. And so yeah, I'm happy that the decision was made. You want to kick it off on kind of going down the rabbit holes on the ins and outs of the game, and then we can move on to the meat and potatoes?
Yeah, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on the game. Again, this was a 5.5-point spread. ODU won 45-26. And here are just some stats. You can skip this part if you're not interested in hearing this, but you probably are. ODU has won 3 Power 4 games in their history. They all come against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech now holds a 1-game edge over ODU, leading the series 4-3. You can call it a rivalry. I called it a rivalry last week as kind of a joke. It is absolutely a rivalry. This is the first 0-3 start for Virginia Tech since 1987. Pat, that's 38 years. That's 38 years. That is, I believe, 2 years younger than Aaron Rouse. We're going to get into Aaron Rouse in a little bit here. Virginia Tech was outscored 65-0 in 4 quarters of football and 72-7 in 5 quarters of football. Virginia Tech was down 31-0 at one point in this game. I was also seriously worried about our scoring streak during this game, and will continue to be worried about it for the rest of the year. And that's why the score just looks different, because the fourth quarter, Hokies scored a couple down, garbage time touchdowns. And again, undisciplined football. It's been synonymous with this regime. 3 turnovers, 12 penalties for 113 yards. Coach Pry in his final press conference, said on the penalties that it's undisciplined, and also sometimes it's guys trying too hard. I thought that was an interesting answer.
And that's where I said, do you guys practice? Did you guys have a spring camp? Did you guys have fall camp? What is happening on the other side of those gates of the practice facility? It is, other than practices starting 15 minutes late all the time. Guys trying too hard. What?
Yeah, that was a puzzling piece from the presser. In the opening half, here's about the offense. The opening half, Virginia Tech managed to cross into Old Dominion territory just one time, and they did fumble the football. That is what happened that one time. It was also crazy because they fumbled the football and probably could have snapped the ball before it got reviewed, but they were not moving fast enough. But I digress. The one question that I'm going to really raise about this football game from like a what the hell are we doing standpoint and dig into it a little bit was quarterback. And I put out a tweet, and I worded it very poorly. I said, this is not Kyron's fault, but why it's crazy that we haven't gone to another quarterback. What I should have said was, this is not exclusively Kyron's fault. It was shocking to me that we did not make any type of change at all at the quarterback position during this football game. Now, if you look at Kyron's stat line, it's not awful. He actually finished 26 of 39 with 266 yards and 4 total touchdowns with 1 interception and a fumble, which is pretty crazy. Like, it's kind of wild to have that stat line. But in the first half of this football, like
anyone can have a stat line like that against the second stringers late in the game. We scored what, like 15 or 19 points in the second half. It's, that was not the stat line. That was the stat line, but that was not the stat line.
Kyron also had 25 yards on 5 of 10 with 2 sacks in the first half. So that was rough too. But I was shocked that we did not see any movement at the quarterback position.
There you go. Pop Watson, the guy who beat a Power 5 team at home last year, is he hurt?
He's not hurt.
Does Phil Montgomery not like him? I have never seen a quarterback so uncomfortable and with such poor body language than Kyron Drones. And I really don't understand what is he doing in the game. We have other guys on our roster in our quarterback room. How do we not give them a look? Mind-blowing. Also, just the game plan in general. Most of the passes early, or that first drive was like Terrion Stewart was awesome. Was he not?
He was.
In the limited time we saw him, 11 carries, 55 yards, a long of 31. Sorry, 8 carries, 55 yards.
Yeah, it's perplexing too, just from the standpoint of I'll stand on this, and a bunch of people will disagree with me. I feel for Kyron for this regard. Kyron has every physical tool that you could possibly want. Kyron Drones was also being taught how to play quarterback from a offensive lineman and tight ends coach for his first few years here in Blacksburg with Tyler Bowen. So that sucks. And, we're here in year 5. And when Coach Pry, year 5, we're here in his final year of eligibility, his 5th year in college football. And when Coach Pry says something like he has so much potential, that's true. But his potential has been wasted because he has not been developed, which is a whole nother issue that's not going to be talked about today. But the development in this program has been piss poor, piss poor, with just kind of where we've been. So I got to get away from this game, dude. Defense. ODU's offense accounted for 526 yards, 276 yards passing, when they only passed for 96 yards against Indiana. They had 250 yards on the ground, which is good for 6.3 yards per carry. And let's just talk about these opening touchdown drives for Old Dominion. This is shocking. These were their first 4 touchdown drives. 5 plays, 93 yards, touchdown. 7 plays, 97 yards, touchdown. 9 plays, 88 yards, touchdown. 8 plays, 77 yards, touchdown. Each one of these possessions ended in touchdowns in 3 minutes and 31 seconds or less. The Old Dominion Oregon Ducks showed up to Blacksburg, Virginia on Saturday night and put on an absolute clinic. Pat, I'm serious, man. Like you tweeted this out. It was always like a losable game, but the fashion in which we did it is so overwhelmingly embarrassing and disheartening. And I don't throw the Q word around. The team absolutely quit.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
You've been throwing the Q word around a lot lately.
No, the last 2 weeks, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to say that, and that's a huge indictment on a lot of people. And I don't want to say that everybody quit. Like, there are players out there who I saw that were not quitting, right? I'm not going to go down the list and be like, this guy didn't quit, this guy didn't quit. But basically, you're left with 3 options. Number 1, you didn't quit. You were beat by a better team. Old Dominion is not more talented than we are. Straight up. And that's not taking anything away from Old Dominion. Also, they blew us out. Number 2, we're so poorly coached that's why we lost that much. That might be true. But at a certain standpoint, good athletes can overcome bad coaching. And number 3, the other option is you quit. And I think it's a combination of we are so poorly coached, our culture is so bad, and we quit. So that is where I landed. And lastly, but not leastly, I will miss this from the standpoint of it gave us something to talk about. We dedicated an entire segment to it because over this tenure. And it's just the presser notes, Pry's presser. I just took a couple of notes here. So he spoke for 7 minutes and 9 seconds, which has got to be a record. Got to be a record. This was including his opening statement. They were not playing around. And here were some of the quotes that were lifted from this. Coach said, quote, "Not the direction I saw our team going tonight. Coach, I agree. That was certainly not the direction that I had foreseen for Saturday night. So I do agree with you on that one." He also used the words flashes and encouraged again. These words need to be removed from the dictionary, and we have heard them for so many years.
I couldn't think of a more out of touch thing to say after your team lost to Old Dominion at home like that. And this is just like along the lines of, I think our fifth-year quarterback has a lot of potential. Speaking about Kyron, last week in the pregame weekly press conference, I think I see potential in our quarterback. This guy's been around. In these practices, is this the coaching staff just like telling everyone on this team how great they are? Like, I've seen some flashes. I'm encouraged by these guys. 0-3 is 0-3. And this type of leadership cannot be brought back to Blacksburg. This is just incredibly out of touch. And I don't care that Brian Kelly is objectively not the nicest guy. I bet Brian Kelly's practices are awesome. I bet Urban Meyer's practices. Also, seeing flashes and being encouraged is so ridiculously subjective. And I'm glad it was the last one.
Yeah. And this is the last one that I will read. And I want to give Coach Pry some grace on this. He had to trot out there and he had to answer questions. This is kind of like, so I haven't been in this position, but I'm sure there are people who have been in positions, or I have. If you're coming home, let's say you're walking home with your report card, right? Or your progress report when you're in 5th grade, or you're in the car with your parents after you got in a fight at lunch and you're in trouble, right? And they start asking you questions, right? And you have to answer them. You can't just plead the fifth. It might have been better to plead the fifth, but you start to answer the question the way that you best see fit. And I think he's been doing this for the last couple of weeks. He knew it was over. We knew it was over. The reporters knew it was over, so he had to answer these questions. But he was asked why he's the coach to continue leading this program. He said, "I see the strides we've made as a program." He also said it was tough to see tonight. Our roster is deeper than what it's been. I would like to cook for a second. I'm going to turn my hat a little bit backwards here. And I just want to talk about some facts for just a second. This roster is deeper than it's ever been. I have heard this thrown around for the last couple of years. Just the roster's better. The roster's better. The roster's better. We just keep saying that, and people have kind of accepted this as it's a fact. So let's talk about the 2021 Justin Fuente roster. Justin Fuente, known war criminal, like awful person, ruined the program. That is why we are where we are. On that roster, there was Raheem Blackshear, James Mitchell, Luke Tenuta, Brock Hoffman, Lacita Smith, John Parker Romo, Amari Barno, Chamari Connor, Dorian Strong. They were all on that roster. They all had shots in the NFL. Some of them are still in the NFL right now. You also had Trey Turner, Tavion Robinson. Like, there was a ton of talent on that football team. And you all crucified Everybody crucified Justin James Fuente. He's the worst. He's the devil. He's killed us. Yet, another point, Divine Diablo is also on that roster. Thank you, Patrick, for pointing that out. We have to recruit the footprint. We got to get back to Virginia. We got to recruit the footprint. The week 1 depth chart of the 2025 Virginia Tech Hokies roster bolstered 15 kids from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Is that
newsflash?
Like, is that real? Like, everyone's gonna fact check that. And
brother, go look at it. I looked at it twice last night. That is a fact. The 2021 week 1 depth chart had 16 kids in the 2 deep on offense and defense. But guys, Justin Fuente, man, he just loved Texas. Like, he was so into Texas. Like, what's up with Texas? You're going to take these kids from Texas and they're going to play for us and you're not going to take a Virginia kid? I have some news for you. In the 2 deep of the 2021 Virginia Tech Texas Hokies, there was a single player on the 2 deep. His name was Dawan Lofton. He was the one guy from Texas. And he was wearing this big Lone Star State bullet on his forehead about how everybody felt about him. Everybody was like, God, Texas, why are we doing Texas? 2025, we have 5 players from the state of Texas in the 2 deep. You cannot write these jokes. But Pat, we got to get back to recruiting. We got to get this guy in here who's recruited Micah Parsons. You know, he's recruited all these guys from Penn State. He's been coming to our breeding grounds here in Virginia. He's been taking all of our recruits. That's so funny that Justin James Fuente ruined our recruiting. That's so funny because actually his recruiting classes, according to the composite, were 42, 26, 24, 26. So we had legitimate recruiting juice all the way up until the first inexcusable loss to ODU. And then we were 77th and 44. Brent Pry, with his master's degree, bachelor's degree, doctorate in recruiting, we have been 43, 46, 47, 42, and now 85 in the composite of recruiting. But guys, Justin James Fuente doesn't take any accountability. I'm really glad that coach gets up there and thanks the fans and the tailgates. We got to do a different thing here. We got to do a different thing here. Didn't that get old? Did that not get old? Did you not get upset with that? So, look, I'll leave you with this. And I promise this is not something I'm going to do for a long time, but I've been sitting on this for such a long time, and it's bothered me for such a long time. And Coach Fuente does not want to be here and is not here and probably shouldn't be here. But the "it's his fault" drum, if you're still pounding that, with all due respect, you're wrong and you look silly and you look funny. And it is so wild that you're still touting that talking point 4 years into a regime that has been given all of the opportunities and support that they need to not just be successful, but beat, I don't know, Marshall, Vanderbilt, Old Dominion, Purdue, Rutgers. Like, come on, guys. Come on. It's crazy. This regime, what I will remember for it is narratives and no facts. Narratives and like just all bark, no bite. And there were times, Pat, that I bought into it. 2023, when we beat Pittsburgh, I'm like, we did it. We slayed the Pat Narduzzi Dragon. That Pitt team sucked. So that is how I will remember this tenure, is so much talk and not much walk. That's what it's been.
So that was 1.0. And if you guys want to tune in for 2.0, we'll talk about that next week, about how the talent level in Virginia hasn't been good in the last decade prior to the Beamer years. And that's a whole nother conversation about, probably probably 2016 through 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, like, I can't speak on the talent level in Virginia since Coach Pry got here. I can speak on the level of where it was when Fuente was here. And there's not that many guys in the NFL from that stretch that are from the state of Virginia. Look it up. And quarterback play, which something that Coach Fuente couldn't figure it out. It sucks. He got some good talent in the door. He was the QB whisperer. And then it turns out that that was an absolute flop, and not being able to leverage Hendon Hooker to the ability that Hendon Hooker had will always be a what if story in the Virginia Tech lore.
Mm-hmm.
But the talent level in Virginia hasn't been good in that era, that stretch. And a lot of that is the quarterback play. That's what I was getting at. Druckenmiller, the Vicks, Brian Randall, Tyrod Taylor, Logan Thomas. What is the commonality? All those guys were from the Commonwealth of Virginia. There has been a lack of quarterbacks from the state of Virginia for the past decade plus that Virginia Tech has not been able to be a beneficiary of, and has set our program back. I also think with NIL, with the portal, that's obviously, different from Beamer's last year's here, but not having a foundational quarterback or building around a quarterback or even being able to figure out the quarterback position has been an absolute abomination, since really Josh Jackson, since we haven't had consistent quarterback play. I'll just say this, like, to put a note on this, Billy, I saw you put some bullet points in here on Fuente in the notes, and I was like, all right, like, is this going to become a comparison game podcast? Until I saw a tweet from Aaron Rouse that this tweet just said, hold my beer. Like, let me just put something out there.
Put this on a tee for you. Yeah.
It's really, really, really tough, especially considering everything Billy just said. Coach Pry made people feel good, but did nothing substantial, nothing tangible, nothing fact-based that led and pointed to winning football games. And sometimes this, unfortunately, is why it's important sometimes to take what former players say with a grain of salt. The tweet. Thank you, Brent Pry, for your commitment and service to @HokiesFB. You will always be a Hokie and my friend. Awesome tweet. But unfortunately, there's three more sentences here. For the record, I did not think you were a bad coach. Unfortunately, the hole we dug ourselves with bad HC hires started with your predecessor. Our program deserves better.
Are you dead ass? Like that I got sent this by so many former players, former people in the program, fans, people who have not been big Justin Fuente fans for a long time. And this is some of the most absolute, and this is not directed at Aaron Rouse, this is just directed at this specific tweet. This is a insane spin, crazy tweet. And by the way, nobody ordered it. Like, nobody was asking for this. Like, you could have stopped after. I have no problem with the first couple of sentences. I do appreciate that Brent Pry worked his tail off to try to make this work, and it didn't work. I'm glad that he's friends with Aaron Rouse. I'm glad that he's your friend. But to say that the reason we are where we are is because of the previous coach when we're almost 4 years into a regime is actually crazy. It's crazy.
That tweet may secure a spot on Pry's next coaching staff. That is not going to make me feel good as a Virginia Tech fan. And feeling good versus winning are just two completely different things. And I think, like, with the former players and the vibe was good. Fuente, there was a bad vibe with former players. You don't get sent free gear. You come back to the facility, no one's there greeting you. I get that. I think that's important. I don't care about that as a fan over winning football games. I think giving players access and making former players feel good, the talk, it gets old real quick. And Senator Rouse, 16-24 versus the easiest schedule in Power 4 over the last 4 years. The 0 top 50 opponent wins. 1-12 is the worst record in the history of college football in one-score games. Just blaming someone else here. What are we doing? The cupboard was bare in 2022. I get that. But let me remind you that we ranted and raved on this podcast a half dozen times, maybe more, because Coach Pry went and got a staggering five recruits in the transfer portal that offseason, which is among the lowest total in all of college football.
It was the second lowest in that new hiring cycle. And I'll give everybody a second to guess who was the lowest. The lowest was Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the only school that had a new coach bring in less players. By the way, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Notre Dame's very good-looking head coach. His name is Marcus Freeman, and he was an internal hire from Notre Dame. When you bring in a new coach, you have an opportunity to reset your roster. You cannot come in and say the roster is bad and do nothing to bring in new players to said roster. That, again, is crazy, and it's what we saw. And to me, that was the biggest red flag and the biggest oh no, that we had when this started. And we said it a bunch of times, but
we said it so much till we were blue in the face. And those five: Grant Wells, contributor; Jason Brown, not a contributor; Feldarius Payne got hurt, not a contributor; Jaden Blue, not a contributor; and then our NFL practice squad legend, Country Steven Gosnell, contributor, led the team in receiving last year. But just this passing the buck is so unacceptable and so embarrassing. It's the fourth full year of this campaign, and we have the 87th ranked recruiting class. Please tell me more about how that is the previous coach's fault. Previous coach did not have any type of resources that this staff has now, with the exception of some of the NIL stuffs, obviously. But I cannot believe that was tweeted today.
It's crazy.
But
it's been tweeted before.
It has.
Before you move on, before you move on, I do want to say something, and we'll touch on this a little bit later. What you're getting at, and I just want to reiterate the point, is when people were so upset, understandably so, about how things were going previously, we let so many different people and different things dictate the direction of what the program should be. And so many of those things had zero to do with winning. I absolutely 110% think that the opinions of Aaron Rouse and Dwight Vick and Tyrod Taylor and all of these people should 100% be part of the conversation. They have walked in those shoes. They have been part of building the program. They are loved by the program, loved by the fans, and they absolutely have earned and deserved that. But the idea that we should gauge how well or not well something is going based upon vibes is crazy. It's crazy. And I think we have you mentioned we've learned so much from this 4 years. I completely agree. And some of the things that I think we've learned is keep the things that are important. It's cool that you were friends with Brent Pry, Aaron Rouse. It's cool that you guys took some pictures on Senate Hill or whatever when you were doing the NIL legislation. That's all great. It was legitimately one of the worst outcomes in Power 4 football that we have seen in decades. It is objectively a failure from top to bottom. I don't care that we went and took some pictures at Warwick High School. I don't care that we threw a couple of nice shindigs for the fans to get together and hear everything. At the end of the day, what matters is winning football games. Justin Fuente did not win enough football games. Brent Pry did not win enough football games. It doesn't change the fact that both of them should not and now are not here coaching this program. What makes this fan base great, what makes Virginia Tech awesome, is centered at, and the core of it is winning. That is it. And the further you get away from winning and having a respectable program that is based and rooted in accountability, the more you risk dissolving the amazing, amazing thing that Virginia Tech has had, and we get further and further and further away from it.
Frank Beamer would never pass the buck over to someone else. Frank Beamer is an accountable guy. Just by that logic, look who is having an awesome career. Brent Key. Do you think Brent Key, when he lost football games, was blaming Jeff Collins? I think, because of the snowball fight photo shoot, because of the staff hangs out at PKs, he's got cool hair and he wears Costas and he, hangs out at the lake.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That should be, if you're going to the ice cream store and the ice cream sucks, you're not going to say, I'm going to keep eating this ice cream because their sprinkles are maroon and orange. If the ice cream sucks, the ice cream sucks. That's cool that the sprinkles are maroon and orange flavored. That, you're so right, man. And I think it's wrong that people are out here and they're trying to make fun of Coach Pry, right, for doing that. He really made it an effort to embrace the community, but that means nothing if you don't win games. We didn't win games, not even ones that you're supposed to win.
Yeah. I don't blame him for doing it. I would have done that. That's awesome. He's a social guy. He's a fun guy. He is vibes. That's why he was a good recruiter at Penn State, because he's got a good vibe. You come to Virginia Tech, we'll take care of you. That's the vibe that he gives. Mm-hmm. But tweets like this, or even just takes like this, are a textbook definition of what the kids say these days as gaslighting. That is totally gaslighting.
Yeah.
As questionable as that take was, there was also
I wouldn't call it questionable. I would just say it's a disastrous take.
Patrick Lawrence had a great take, and he said, I'm extremely confident Brent Pry would be an awesome leader of the Hokie Club. That is unequivocally one of the best things I've read in the last week on the internet. Especially considering the Hokie Club has not had a finite leadership or a finite leader in pretty much the majority of Whit Babcock's career at Virginia Tech as AD. I think we should have a longer discussion about this BOV financial approval that's coming up here in 2 weeks, and where the Hokie Club sits, which layer the Hokie Club is, because university funding is one thing, but there is always going to be fan funding that is important. At the end of the day, the coaching staff, the athletic director, the president, they are just caretakers of the program. It doesn't belong to them. Yeah. This is not Whit Babcock's program. This is not Brent Pry's program. This was never Justin Fuente's program. This was never Tim Sands' program. I will say it is Frank Beamer's program. I will say that. I'll give him some. But the fans own it more than anyone else in that building on Saturdays. And I think the Hokie Club, which has been bereft of leadership for a very long time, in a theoretical world, kind of a bit nonsensical, but Brent Pry would be an excellent leader of the Hokie Club because of the vibes.
Completely agree with you. And again, none of this is personal. It's just winning matters. And it feels like it hasn't mattered enough for a long time. So, with that said, as we transition into the coaching search here and who we're going to hand the keys as a tenant to the program, I want to talk to you about who can hand you your keys as a owner to real estate in Blacksburg, Virginia, or the New River Valley. Pat, that was one of my best transitions ever.
Really good.
Our guy, David Phillips, man. David Phillips Real Estate. He has got you covered if you're looking to sell, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to learn, if you're looking to inquire, whatever you need to do. Dave Phillips is our guy. He lives right in the New River Valley. We know multiple people that he's worked with to get homes in the Blacksburg, Virginia area. He will take great care of you. So if you are looking to get in, get out, or inquire, hit us up. We will make a direct connection with Dave for you. So the news: Coach Pry has been fired. Coach Montgomery is the new interim head coach for Virginia Tech. Again, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's an awesome guy. This has been the worst coach in Power 4 football during this time. And this is a painful exercise that I am going to put us through here. But I'm going to look back at some of the notable hires from the 2021 coaching carousel. Pat, I hope you're wearing pants. Tier 1, here are some coaches that they were going to go to these schools, right? Billy Napier went to Florida. Dan Lanning went to Oregon. Marcus Freeman went to Notre Dame. Stayed at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly went to LSU. Lincoln Riley went to USC. Brent Venables went to Oklahoma. And Mario Cristobal went to Miami. So that's tier 1. Those coaches had an opportunity to go to a great landing spot, and that's where they went. Now let's go to tier 2. These are coaches that it's really crazy. You call hiring a coach a crapshoot. There were some damn good coaches hired in this carousel here. Damn good coaches in the 2021 hiring tree. Tier 2, Sonny Dykes. He's still at TCU, doing a hell of a job. Took that team to the college football playoff. Kalen DeBoer. He was hired at Washington. He took Washington to the college football playoff. He took them to the national championship. He is now at Alabama. John Summerall was hired at Troy. He's now at Tulane. He will be one of the most sought-after coaches in this offseason. Jake Dickert, he was hired at Washington State. He's now at Wake Forest. We play Wake Forest in 2 weeks. Don't feel great about it. Rhett Mother Bleepin' Lashley was hired at SMU this year. He took SMU to the playoff. Joey McGuire was hired at Texas Tech. He's doing great at Texas Tech. Tony Elliott was hired at Virginia. We'll see you in a couple months. And then the one that's the most painful, Mike Elko was right there. He was right there. And I have it on tremendous authority that Mike Elko wanted this job. And when he didn't get the job, or for whatever reason he didn't end up here, he was like, I'm going to beat the hell out of Virginia Tech. And guess what? By damn, he did it. We never beat Duke in this coaching tenure. We never beat Duke. And then when Mike Elko left, we continued to lose to Duke. We lost to Duke again on your birthday, Pat. I'm so sorry that happened. We lost to Duke and Manny Diaz. The Mike Elko going to Duke over going to Virginia Tech, he's at Texas A&M right now, is one of the craziest, wildest, yes, hindsight situations that you have. But the reason that it bothers me, or not really the reason that one specifically bothers me, but because he didn't have previous head coaching experience, I don't believe. The reason that this just drives me crazy is if you go back and you look at the criteria for what we were looking for in our next head coach at Virginia Tech, head coaching experience was one of the first things out of Whit Babcock's mouth, or in his presser, wherever he shared this information. Maybe it was a chat with Andy Bitter, which never seemed to go well. And we had no head coaching experience. Zero, zilch, none, no head coaching experience. And you mentioned how we didn't bring in, you could talk about this for hours. You mentioned how we didn't bring in transfers. We also didn't bring in coordinators with any experience. We brought in 2 first-time coordinators and kept them around for far too long. And that's why I really am not coming down that hard on Sam Seifkis. I'm not coming down that hard on Phil Montgomery because they've been handed a steaming pile of poo and are expected to do something with the poo. It's misstep after misstep after misstep after misstep, and it's compounded and created this misstep lasagna that we are now facing at our table. It is mind-numbing, man. It is truly mind-numbing, and just disappointing. Disappointing.
But we're going to bring in someone new.
We're going to bring in someone new. So this next section is called Vick. Oh, I just want to put we don't have to do this. I hope he does really well at Norfolk State. I am out on the let's hire Michael Vick today thing. That may hurt some people's feelings, but this, again, it's too breakable right now, man. And you got to figure it out. I have a couple names that I'll throw around here, but wishing Michael Vick nothing but the best, but let's do something at Norfolk State first. This is called immediate soundboard thoughts. Since this is also new, these are just like immediate reactions. This is a bit of a nitpick, Pat. I thought the tweet that we put out was kind of silly about this, and I get it. Coach Pry, he's one of us. He's a Virginia rooted guy. The tweet we put out when we fired our head coach for poor performance. That is not what we said. We said, Hokies FB, leadership transition underway for Virginia Tech football. Okay.
The President Sands way is how that headline was written.
Yeah. It's like the participation trophy version of firing head coaches on Twitter.
It is another business. One. You do bad, you get fired. People understand. No one is going to be upset if it says Brent Pry is fired. And this is why we need a factory reset from the president to the AD. Like everybody needs to be out of Blacksburg because we just don't have a winner's mentality in anything. We're too focused on a lot of unimportant stuff.
Speaking of, it was interesting that this change, interesting is the wrong word. It just kind of reaffirms everything that we've been told, thinking, and know is inevitable. This leadership transition underway for Virginia Tech football, the actual information came from Tim Sands. It started by saying President Tim Sands shares the following message with our university community, alumni, and supporters. God, this reads like a youth soccer team transition announcement. It really does.
It reads like it's a eulogy.
Yeah. So anyway, this didn't come directly from Whit Babcock. And also it was mentioned, it says, I'll just read the whole thing, whatever. Coach Brent Pry has been relieved of his coaching duties effective immediately. We appreciate Coach Pry's efforts and service since 2021. Unfortunately, the results on the field were not acceptable, and a change in leadership is necessary. Philip Montgomery.
I want to know, according to Tim Sands, who that is coming from the desk of, what is acceptable?
That's a great question. It's a great question.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, Philip Montgomery, who's our current offensive coordinator, will serve as the interim head coach. We will continue to fully support our team and student athletes for the remaining games as we strive together to significantly improve the trajectory of our football program this season. To our students, alumni, and rest of Hokie Nation, we understand and support share your disappointment with the season so far. As we move forward together, please join us in supporting and encouraging our student athletes and athletic staff as they take on this new challenge. Here's the interesting part. Board of Visitors members Jay Pearson and Ryan McCarthy have been charged by the rector, John Rakovich, to work with university leadership and AD Whit Babcock to develop financial, organizational, and leadership plans that will rapidly position the Virginia Tech football program to be competitive with the rest of the ACC, the best of the ACC. That plan will be presented to the Board of Visitors later this month. The new framework for college sports will be fully established for next season. So this is the time to make a major move. Now, what I glean from this, Whit Babcock is not going to be making this hire. Whit Babcock is not going to be the athletic director for much longer. And that's kind of where we are. In terms of just like soundboard things, I was curious when we got to this point if we would decide who would be the interim head coach. And I really do, like, fingers crossed, hope. This is what I hope happened. I hope Bud was at least asked. I do hope that he was at least asked if he wanted to do this. And I have not heard this from him, so I don't want people aggregating it, but my opinion would be that he probably wouldn't want to do that. I think he has a pretty sick life right now and just wants to chill. I don't blame him at all. He seems to have the chill thing down, and I'm happy for him. I hope that was offered. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, people would go to games if he was announced as the interim head coach.
I think fan base, that would be something that keeps the fan base engaged, keep the fan base involved. I think Bud, not speaking for him, just think about how college football has changed since Bud retired in 2019 too. The whole element of roster management around NIL and even just working with student athletes who are, making thousands of dollars is a completely different game than when he exited too. I'm sure it is not on his list of, or high on his list of priorities of things that he wants to get that involved with. But I want Virginia Tech to succeed for my personal life, but for a guy like Bud Foster, I want Virginia Tech football to be successful because I know Bud Foster loves Virginia Tech and is involved with Virginia Tech. And a guy like that deserves to see, a program that he helped build succeed.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I also was interested to see if we would go with the JC direction, which we did not. We went with Coach Montgomery. And here are just a couple of notes, man, just off the top of my head for moving forward. Start practice on time. I can't get over this. I can't get over the fact that Chris Coleman shared this on Tech Sideline. Virginia Tech was regularly starting practice between 15 minutes and 1 hour late. That is insane. Insane. From Pee Wee football to Mighty Mite football to junior football to high school to college, at no point in my career ever did we start practice an hour late or even 50. I can't even remember starting practice 15 minutes late unless there was thunder and lightning because you want to be safe. That would be a suggestion. The discipline would be a suggestion. The holding players accountable would be a suggestion. I think accountability has been such a position that we have just completely let go of for so long. And it really bothers me I know I said that, there are portions of this team that have quit, but there's enough talent and enough guys on this team that deserve to not go out like that. And that's why I thought a move like this was overwhelmingly necessary. I think you drastically improved your chances of winning a game the rest of the season by making this move, just because clearly the voice and the motion and the process of which Coach Pry was implementing and leading was being tuned out. There's really just no other way to slice it other than that. So
Coach Montgomery, if you guys remember, before he was hired, it was mentioned that he had 7 years of head coaching experience, actually 8 years. He was head coach at Tulsa from 2015 through 2022, posted a 43-53 record overall while leading the Golden Hurricane. Also has won 2 bowl games, at Miami Beach Bowl and the Myrtle Beach Bowl. And he won 10 games in 2016. I'm not anointing him as the next Virginia Tech head football coach, but it's not like we're turning the keys over to someone who has never coached a football game before. This is actually, he has more head coaching experience than Brent Pry, and he's won 43 games. He's almost coached in 100 games. Won the conference too in 2020. All right, so where do we go from here? I think we have some unanswerable questions that everyone is like, what's going to happen? Who's it going to be? When's it going to happen? what is the shape shift of everything in Blacksburg? And is this top down? Like Andy Bitter says that it's going to be hired. This coach is going to be hired by a committee with a chair who is yet to be determined. Whit Babcock will assist and support the search, but not lead the search. So, question number 1. Why do we have Whit Babcock as our athletic director if he is not leading the athletic director or the head coaching search? That is part of his job description. He makes the hire. That means his tenure should be coming to a close soon. This is going to be a complete top-down alignment decision. It's going to need to be. And that is, what is the future of the president at Virginia Tech? What is the future of athletic director at Virginia Tech? What is the future of the Hokie Club? Will the Hokie Club be given a leader? I know I made a joke about Coach Pry leading the Hokie Club. I think it's too late for that. And I think a little bit of that was tongue-in-cheek. But will this next...
That's definitely tongue-in-cheek. I mean, Brent Pry is not going to be the new... Well, let me also say this before you move off of top-down alignment. We're not going to get political. But the end of Glenn Youngkin's tenure as the governor of Virginia and the likely new governor coming in, I believe, has a huge, what can I say, stranglehold on Tim Sands' decision to retire versus not retire now. Because look, man, like this, the timing of all of this is so awful. It really is. Like in true Virginia Tech fashion, we are like, people know the writing on the wall. The wall is Brent Pry is gone. The writing on the wall is Whit Babcock will be gone. And Tim Sands, for all the evidence that we have, is about ready to retire and hang it up. And it's kind of like what's a good comparison? It's almost kind of like a Supreme Court justice situation where like they want to hold on until they know who's going to replace them. You can like that, dislike that, or whatever, but I think that's also at play here and something that's going on. So it's a weird spot, man, because you're out there and you're trying to find your next head coach, and you're going to be like, hey, wait, by the way, like you're going to come in, and this new president's probably going to come in, and this new athletic director is probably going to come in, and it's just a real shit sandwich.
When you go out and you apply for a job and get hired, very frequently you'll interview with your future boss and your future boss's boss, and there will be a lot of consistency and alignment, top down, bottom up. That's why this is just super hairy. And time will tell. I feel like we should do some form of deep dive on like what are the X's and O's of when this decision might be made due to the approval of the athletics funding for the BOV, due to the Goober national, governor race,
gubernatorial or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And what the impact is there. Another unanswerable question that we can't talk about yet. What is the criteria for the next Virginia Tech football coach? What are we looking for out of our next coach? Who are we looking for? Is this going to be the G5 route where we find someone who's an up-and-comer, maybe a young coach who has had success as a head coach at the G5 level? They're looking to level up into Power 4. Do we go the coordinator route, someone who might be more tenured, like a Coach Pry who was at Penn State, go pull up a coordinator like Mike Elko was at Texas A&M during the time of that previous hiring cycle?
I'll tell you who I do like that fits that criteria is one of the names that I really like. Everybody likes Dan Mullen. I also really like Joe Sloan. Joe Sloan, this is actually from Bryce. He pointed this out, but he's from Chester, Virginia. He's currently the offensive coordinator at LSU. I like that fit. He's been coaching college football since 2010. And we're going to do an episode where we talk about a bunch of like candidates we like. And we'll probably, It is wild because last year we hired somebody that I don't think there was a single person anywhere that predicted them even as an option. So I just want an adult in the room, man. It's really all I want. I'm not trying to answer your unanswerable question, but like you really just have to get an adult in here. And I don't think that Virginia Tech is as unattractive as a lot of people put it out to be. I mean, you have an amazing fan base. You have a fan base that's probably begging you to be good. It's not like trying to hire a head coach at, I don't know, like a Wake Forest or hire a head coach at a, I don't know enough about their situations to crap or build up their situation. But yeah, it's a weird spot, man. It's a school that doesn't know the future of their president, athletic director, or conference. That's three tough situations.
Yeah, the if we're gonna go for a coordinator, I am with you on like getting someone preferably from the SEC. Even poaching a coordinator from Penn State, if you really do think about it, like there's not too many cushier jobs in college football than like a defensive coordinator at Penn State, somewhere that's traditionally known for their defense, and they're playing Purdue and Northwestern, and you know they usually have 3 tough games a year.
Let's get one thing straight. Brent Pry was a phenomenal defensive coordinator at Penn State. Like I would go as far as to say he was a very good defensive coordinator at Penn State, but there was a reason why he was not being considered for any other. Like this was not a guy who was like, man, is he going to take the leap now? Like I do want to point that out. But I get what you're saying. Like the coordinator thing is scary. The group of 5 thing is scary. Like the 2 routes we just went down a disappointing situation with. And then you peel that next layer of the onion back and it's like, do you want to go with a retread? And who knows if these people will be available, like a Hugh Freeze. Everybody freaks out because, oh my God, Hugh Freeze. Well, the guy can coach ball. Or you think of a Dan Mullen. You're like, well, what did Dan Mullen really do? Oh, I don't know. He had Mississippi State as one of the 2 best teams in the country for any period of time. That's pretty impressive to me. So, look, I'm just looking for this to not be, you mentioned gubernatorial race. I want this to not be like a goofy goober factory. And that is why I have so much respect for what Mike Young and Tony Roby have done, and Kenny Brooks and Buzz Williams and, our softball coach, are like the fact that they've been able to be successful in this. I'm not going to call it a cesspool because there are a lot of people who work really hard and ultimately it hasn't gone great recently, but it seems as if there's a lot of misalignment and a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Tension in the Merriman Center. And that's why you have to give so much respect to Mike Young and all of these guys who have done such a tremendous job.
Dan Mullen I would do a backflip, a good backflip. I'd be so fired up about Dan Mullen. He was the reason that UCLA fired their coach, Dan Mullen. Put the beat down on one of the reasons they beat UCLA last week.
Ed made this point too. If we hired Dan Mullen, it'd be pretty funny because then Anthony Calandria would probably be our starting quarterback. Just thought that would be kind of funny.
That would be unreal. The opportunity to bring in someone that has head coaching experience is just so important, especially considering that like we can't make these mistakes of the past. We can't just be hiring for vibes. We can't be hiring because this person makes us feel good and because this person is one of us. I don't care if our next football coach is an asshole. And I know that is not the Virginia Tech way. If we're not winning football games, you're not buying season tickets. I'm not renewing my season tickets. If you want give you a hug after the game and makes the fans feel good in the press conference, I am sure there is a high school football program within a few miles of your house. You can catch them on Friday nights. I'm sure they have a great head coach that makes the community feel good. This is not a standard that we should have as a super critical hiring criteria. It really shouldn't. Yeah. And I know that's not the Virginia Tech way. Virginia Tech is prosum, it's service, it's down to earth people, it's a family. And obviously that vibe is important, but I think we all have learned right now that cannot be the linchpin here.
Yeah.
Even just the mistakes of the past of hiring a first-time head coach with a first-time D coordinator and a first-time offensive coordinator and a first-time strength and conditioning coordinator. The writing was on the wall when that happened, and everyone was
sold. We fell for it. We fell for it too. So, yeah.
Fell for it. Yeah, don't worry. Coach Marv, we had him on the pod. We really like him. We think he's a rising star in college football. Well, his star did not burn very bright in Blacksburg, and unfortunately, we had to wear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No more mom and pop shop, man. No more mom and pop shop. Go get someone that is going to be on the Andy Staples or the Bruce Feldman's list of, hey, who won the offseason? Who went out there and made
it happen?
They're higher. Let's rate this a B+ or higher. If you can get on the B+ or higher, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah.
We got some haikus to take.
Yeah, dude. I'm just gonna read these, and I'd love to get your reaction for each. We got a lot. We're getting a lot of haikus, man. Negativity breeds haiku. Print the shirts. Dawson Stevens. Embrace what comes next. Enter change. Exit mundane. Show your Hokie pride. Very good. Very good. By the way, in case you were wondering, Old Dominion did tweet, or the Monarchists did tweet exit Sandman. So we did get that.
Scott Van Pelt had by far the best content today. It really sucks when the national media is just dunking making fun of you, because if you really think about it, now even thinking about having Metallica play at Lane Stadium, it kind of feels worse if you think about it. Wait a second, a football team plays there? Or is that where you guys just play the song and everyone jumps?
Pete McGee, he was in his bag. This one was awesome. Pry was not our guy. Aw shucks, he gave it a try. He gets it. A lie. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Pete.
We printed the shirts. We had he gets it shirts.
Mm-hmm. Flames engulf our dream. No longer Commonwealth Kings. Only ash remains. 2 more.
It's a good one.
Kelly Kreider. I had to Kreider myself to sleep last night. We used to be good. Stands are ghosts of memories. It's devastating. Kelly, this is your first haiku. Well done. Hopefully get you something cheery to write about. And then last one from Cam Phillips, not to be confused with all-time Virginia Tech leading wide receiver Cam Phillips, but I'm sure Cameron Phillips is excellent in his own way. Cam Phillips says, was Enter Sandman, a new low achieved each week. Now exit sad men. Well done, Cam. Well done.
Cam Phillips?
Yes. Not. I'm not going to say not the Cam Phillips, because I'm not going to give Cam Phillips the opportunity to make himself the Cam Phillips, but it's not Cam Phillips, wide receiver, Virginia Tech. Finishing up here. Letters from the lunch pail. Patrick Lawrence. Does a midseason firing do anything beneficial from a team performance standpoint, or would it mainly be messaging to keep the fan base intact? I think 2 things happen. Number 1, I think the fan base would have marched on Washington Street if this did not happen. I really I don't know how we would have. I don't know what we would have done if this didn't go down today. I was shocked he coached the second half, to be completely honest. I was shocked he had the press conference, to be completely honest. So I also think that having a new voice and a new, these kids got I don't mean to call them out. Y'all got some pride? Like, do y'all have any pride? Like, we can't be going out like this, dude. Like, you play Wofford next week, you lose to Wofford, man, you're cementing yourself as something you really don't want to be cemented as. Seriously. And hopefully they go out, play with some pride, and do something.
I mean, during the years of recruiting, it was always, hey, we are recruiting guys to be a part of our football program that were captains of their high school teams. If there are some captains on this football team, let's see it, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes football today so tough in some ways, because they are getting paid. Like, there's no other way to skin it. Like, it is a different kind of game, and their emotions out there are a lot different when that check is clearing. Yeah. And you almost have to compartmentalize it. I can't even imagine
being in that locker room, dude.
You know, yeah, being in the locker room, or kind of just like where motivations lie today. It's, well, I gotta get paid. How is this gonna, do for my draft stock? Should I consider the portal? I can hit the portal right now if I wanted to. Loyalty is a lost art in college football in 2025. And we don't see it. You don't get 4-year guys anymore. Jeannie Barton on that says, what are your thoughts on players now being eligible for the transfer portal immediately with the coaching change? Will teams start poaching our team, especially since they can redshirt their eligibility having played only 3 games?
Jeannie, so hard to answer. I also stumbled across this when I was typing your question out. I don't know how it works with the NIL contracts, because they probably, if they're getting paid or have already been paid, does that mean it's tied to them being on the team through the rest of the year? It's also messy and also gross and weird. And I hate to even think about this, but I wonder, was Kyron Drones not being switched into the game? Did that have anything to do with an NIL contract? I don't know. And that wouldn't be Kyron's fault, right? But it's just all messy and gross and blah. But they do have I believe it's a 3-week transfer period that opens today. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't really want to think about it.
What do you think of that rule?
It's so weird, right? Because the firing's happening so early in the season that, I do like the rule if your coach leaves and you didn't make a bowl game and you have the right to, I don't know. I don't like player movement, period, Pat, unless it's in extreme situations. So I guess my root answer is no. So yeah, I don't know. Last one, Nick, who are y'all's picks at next head coach / AD if you were in charge? My athletic director, I'm not going to say she's my pick, but I'm going to say she's a name should be considered. I'm weighing 2 things, right? I'm like, we need completely fresh eyes that are completely different, and we're going to get a complete turnover here because we got to stop being ran like a mom and pop shop. But with that said, I'm not really in the weeds on athletic directors. But Desiree Reed-Francois, man, she was here from 2014 to 2017. She was basically the football athletic director, which means she was calling the shots before John Boleyn was calling the shots. She did a really good job. Coach Fuente spoke very, very highly of her. When she left Virginia Tech, she became the AD at UNLV. Then she became the AD at Missouri in 2021, and she is currently the AD at Arizona. So she has a ton of experience. She's been everywhere. Yeah, that would be an AD pick for me. And I said already Joe Sloan and also Dan Mullen. Do you have any other names you wanted to throw out?
I just want to double tap on Desiree. I took John Boleyn's class, sports management, one section, 2014, 2016. And Desiree was a guest speaker, and she was outstanding. I know that she has been, she's just a star in the business. And I think that I think it would be funny to bring her over and bring Dan Mullen over at the same time with double UNLV ties. I think anyone within, there were a lot of hype around some of the deputy ADs at Tennessee as well. Mm-hmm. Anyone within like the Danny White athletic director coaching tree. I guess he's technically the vice chancellor as well at Tennessee. I mean, go look at any SEC program that has leveled up their brand over the past 10 years. And all of them have deputy athletic directors who are looking to make the jump. So I think we'll probably find out some more candidates over the next few weeks.
I do want to add a haiku from Sports Politics Coffee. Very straightforward on what he likes. Shout out to you, by the way. Dan Mullen's journey from Gators, Storm to Rebels Calm, Tex Hope. Time will tell. Well done. Let's close this out, Pat. And again, I thought that was a pretty good podcast. Let us know in the replies. If you've made it this far, please comment a banana, because there was a Savannah banana joke with Mike McDaniel on the timeline. Comment a banana in the comments if you can. Give us a like and a subscribe. It does help. I do have two things that I want to talk about real quick. Number one, got to give Brent Pry his flowers. Doug Bowman pointed it out. He is a scoregami machine. He has had 3 games in a row where we achieved a scoregami, and this is Virginia Tech's 3rd straight scoregami to start the season. For those of you who don't know what scoregami is, it is a score that the team has never had before. 45-26, 44-20, 24-11. Those are weird scores, and Coach Pry did post them, so shout out to you, Scoregami King. And lastly, I tweeted from the Sons of Saturday account in the morning about UVA's attendance in their game against William & Mary. UVA had a school record 700 yards of offense in their previous game. I believe they scored 55 or 45 points against William & Mary. And I just tweeted a picture out of their fan attendance, right? And then UVA fans began dunking on me and us because we lost the game. And my point was never about the football team. My point was, man, UVA, like, you guys still don't show up for games. And at the end of the day, Pat, me, all of these people, like, we love our team so much and our passion is so high. It is so funny to look at how much you guys look. Both of our teams suck, but here's the difference. One of our fan bases suck, and it's not ours. And fan bases can't win football games. By the way, now that we got this interim loaded up, you guys are so screwed in week 12 or 13. Like, it is going to be so fun, Pat, to be in Charlottesville and storm the field again with an interim coach when we beat UVA in rivalry week. It's a tradition as old as time. You guys have lost to Frank Beamer. You've lost to Justin James Fuente. You lost to Brent Pry. You lost to JC Price. And you are going to lose to Philip Montgomery the last week of the season. And it is going to be hilarious. Can't wait for it. Cannot wait for it. Any closing
thoughts? Billy Ray starting the UVA hate week 8 weeks early. I did not see that coming today. And no. I will hope and pray that we can fulfill those promises that you just made on the behalf of our football program, because that was a wild take to throw out there for a team that was losing 31-0 to Old Dominion at home.
Gotta put your face somewhere, buddy.
Fan harder, bro. Is what I would say to Virginia. If Virginia wins a football game at Scott Stadium, but no fans were there to see the game, did they actually win the game?
Don't know.
My closing thoughts here. Wow, it's September 14th, and we couldn't even make it to the end of summer. Like, it is still factually summer. It's not fall until September 21st, 22nd. Just didn't see that coming. Didn't see us turning the page on our head coach prior to me going to a game in Layton this year. Was planning on going to the Wake Forest game. Probably leaning towards not making that trip anymore. And then just last thing. One more piece of UNLV lore for you, Billy Ray. Alex Orgy is on the roster at UNLV. Quarterback Alex Orgy, one of the final recruits that we thought was coming to Blacksburg and then flipped to Michigan, won a natty at Michigan. Now at UNLV. But guys, thank you guys so much for listening. I know we have brighter days ahead. I cannot guarantee that, but I will hope and pray for it. We will record another podcast later this week, probably to, check the boxes on Wofford and then talk a little bit more about the development of what this next phase of Virginia Tech football looks like.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do some deep dives, and newsflash, we're not going to talk about Wofford for an hour and 30 minutes, but we will bring you some top-rated content. As we sign off and alluding to Alex Orgy, the season has been certainly not an orgy, but we are looking forward to a better, some brighter days, and they are around the corner.
What was that?
I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to put my quarter zip back on the hanger and throw on a shirt and go for a run. Pat, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, buddy.
Cheers.
Nice grid hat, by the way. I love it.